Please make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get notified about our future videos. To the questions. Question 1. You have an Azure subscription that contains 2 Azure Key Vault resources. You need to ensure that all the secrets in any Key Vault in the subscription meet the following requirements. Secrets can be active for up to 365 days. Secrets must have an expiration date set. Secrets must have a content type set. The solution must minimize administrative effort. What should you do? Select only one answer. Our options are A. Create custom policies for Key Vault secrets and link an initiative to the Key Vault resources. B. Create custom policies for Key Vault secrets and link any initiative to the subscription. C. Use built-in policies and link an initiative to the Key Vault resources. Or D. Use built-in policies and link an initiative to the subscription. The correct option is D. Use built-in policies and link an initiative to the subscription. Using built-in policies and linking an initiative to the subscription will apply to all the Key Vault resources in the subscription. You do not need to use custom policies, and linking to the resources will not affect new Key Vaults. Question 2. You are evaluating the Azure policy configurations to identify any required custom initiatives and policies. You need to run workloads in Azure that are compliant with the following regulations: FedRAMP High, PCI DSS 3.2.1, GDPR, and ISO 27001, column 2013. For which regulation should you create custom initiatives? Select only one answer. Our options are A. FedRAMP High, B. GDPR, C. ISO 27001, column 2013, or D. PCI DSS 3.2.1. The correct option is B. GDPR. To run workloads that are compliant with GDPR, custom initiatives should be created. GDPR compliance initiatives are not yet available in Azure. Azure has existing initiatives for ISO, PCI DSS 3.2.1, and FedRAMP High. Question 3. You have an Azure subscription that contains a user named admin1. You need to ensure that admin1 can access the regulatory compliance dashboard in Microsoft Defender for Cloud. The solution must follow the principle of least privilege. Which 2 roles should you assign to admin1? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Select all answers that apply. Our options are A. Global Reader, B. Resource Policy Contributor, C. Security Admin, or D. Security Reader. The correct options are B and C, that is Resource Policy Contributor and Security Admin. To use the regulatory compliance dashboard in Defender for Cloud, you must have sufficient permissions. At a minimum, you must be assigned the Resource Policy Contributor and Security Admin roles. Question 4. Your company's Azure subscription includes Windows Server 2016 Azure virtual machines. You are informed that every virtual machine must have a custom anti-malware virtual machine extension installed. You are writing the necessary code for a policy that will help you achieve this. Which of the following is in effect that must be included in your code? Our options are A. Disabled, B. Modify, C. Audit if not exists, or D. Deploy if not exists. The correct option is D. Deploy if not exists. Deploy if not exists executes a template deployment when the condition is met. Question 5. You need to consider the following segment to establish whether it is accurate. You have configured an Azure Kubernetes service cluster in your testing environment. You are currently preparing to deploy the cluster to the production environment. After disabling HTTP application routing, you want to replace it with an application routing solution that allows for reverse proxy and TLS termination for AKS services via a solitary IP address. You must create an AKS Ingress Controller. Select No Adjustment Required if the segment is accurate. If the segment is inaccurate, select the accurate option. Our options are A. No adjustment required, B. A network security group, C. An application security group, or D, an Azure Basic Load Balancer? The correct option is A, no adjustment required. An Ingress controller is a piece of software that provides reverse proxy, configurable traffic routing, and TLS termination for Kubernetes services. Question 6. You have been tasked with creating an Azure Key Vault using PowerShell. You have been informed that objects deleted from the Key Vault must be kept for a set period of 90 days. Which two of the following parameters must be used in conjunction to meet the requirement? Choose two. Our options are A. Enabled for deployment, B. Enable purge protection, C. Enabled for template deployment, or D. Enable soft delete. The correct option is B and D, that is enable purge protection and enable soft delete. Question 7. Your network contains an Active Directory forest named contoso.com. You have an Azure Active Directory tenant named contoso.com. You plan to configure synchronization by using the Express Settings installation option in Azure AD Connect. You need to identify which roles and groups are required to perform the planned configuration. The solution must use the principle of least privilege. Which two roles and groups should you identify? Each correct answer presents a part of the solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Our options are A. The domain admins group in Active Directory, B. The security administrator role in Azure AD, C. The global administrator role in Azure AD, D. The user administrator role in Azure AD, or E. The enterprise admins group in Active Directory. The correct options are C and E, that is the global administrator role in Azure AD and the enterprise admins group in Active Directory. Question 8. You have an Azure subscription. You need to implement UK official and UK NHS standards for the subscription. Which Microsoft Defender for cloud settings should you use? Select only one answer. Our options are A. Recommendations, B. Regulatory compliance, C. Security posture, or D. Workload protections. The correct option is B. Regulatory compliance. You must use regulatory compliance in Defender for Cloud to add a new standard. The remaining answers are valid options from Defender for Cloud, but they do not allow you to add a new standard. Question 9. You have an Azure subscription. You need to recommend a solution that uses crawling technology of Microsoft to discover and actively scan assets within an online infrastructure. The solution must also discover new connections over time. What should you include in the recommendations? Select only one answer. Our options are A. A Microsoft Defender for Cloud Custom Initiative, B. Microsoft Defender External Attack Surface Management, C. Microsoft Defenders for Servers, or D. The Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. The correct option is B. Microsoft Defender External Attack Surface Management. Defender EASM applies the crawling technology of Microsoft to discover assets that are related to your known online infrastructure and actively scan these assets to discover new connections over time. Attack surface insights are generated by applying vulnerability and infrastructure data to showcase the key areas of concern for your organization. Question 10. You have Azure SQL databases that contain credit card information. You need to identify and label columns that contain credit card numbers. Which Microsoft Defender for Cloud feature should you use? Select only one answer. Our options are A. Hash reputation analysis, B. Inventory filters, C. SQL information protection, or D. SQL servers on machines. The correct option is C. SQL information protection. SQL information protection allows you to identify and label data. Hash reputation analysis prevents suspicious files from being stored in Azure storage. Inventory filters are used to filter resources protected by Defender, and SQL servers on machines protects Microsoft SQL Server running on virtual machines or on-premises machines. Question 11. You have been tasked with configuring an access review which you plan to assign to a new collection of reviews. You also have to make sure that the reviews can be reviewed by resource owners. You start by creating an access review program and an access review control. You now need to configure the reviewers. Which of the following should you set reviewers to? Our options are A. Selected users, B. Members, C. Group owners, or D. Anyone. The correct option is C. Group owners. In the reviewer section, select either one or more people to review all the users in scope, or you can select to have the members review their own access. If the resource is a group, you can ask the group owners to review. Question 12. You need to consider the following segment to establish whether it is accurate. You have been tasked with creating a different subscription for each of your company's divisions. However, the subscriptions will be linked to a single Azure Active Directory tenant. You want to make sure that each subscription has identical role assignments. You make use of Azure AD Privileged Identity Management. Select No Adjustment Required if the segment is accurate. If the segment is inaccurate, select the accurate option. Our options are A. No adjustment required, B. Azure Blueprints, C. Conditional access policies, or D. Azure DevOps. The correct option is no adjustment required, that is A. The Azure AD Privileged Identity Management Service also allows privileged role administrators to make permanent admin role assignments. Question 13. Your company recently created an Azure subscription. You have been tasked with making sure that a specified user is able to implement Azure AD Privileged Identity Management. Which of the following is the role you should assign to the user? Our options are A. The Global Administrator role, B. The Security Administrator role, C. The Password Administrator role, or D. The Compliance Administrator role. The correct option is A. The Global Administrator role. Question 14. Your company has an Azure Container Registry. You have been tasked with assigning a user a role that allows for the downloading of images from the Azure Container Registry. The role assigned should not require more privileges than necessary. Which of the following is the role you should assign? Our options are A. Reader, B. Contributor, C. ACR delete, or D. ACR pull. The correct option is D. ACR pull. The role assigned should not require more privileges than necessary. Therefore, D is correct because it provides the least number of permissions required for downloading images from a container registry. Answer A provides at least 2 permissions, which would be one more than ACR pull allows for. Question 15. You make use of Azure Resource Manager templates to deploy Azure virtual machines. You have been tasked with making sure that Windows features that are not in use are automatically inactivated when instances of the virtual machines are provisioned. Which of the following actions should you take? Our options are A. You should make use of Azure DevOps, B. You should make use of Azure Automation State Configuration, C. You should make use of network security groups, or D. You should make use of Azure Blueprints. The correct option is B. You should make use of Azure Automation State Configuration. You can use Azure Automation State Configuration to manage Azure virtual machines, on-premises virtual machines, Linux machines, AWS virtual machines, and on-premises physical machines. Note, Azure Automation State Configuration provides a DSC pull server similar to the Windows feature DSC service so that target nodes automatically receive configurations, conform to the desired state, and report back on their compliance. The built-in pull server in Azure Automation eliminates the need to set up and maintain your own pull server. Azure Automation can target virtual or physical Windows or Linux machines in the cloud or on-premises. Question 16. Your company has an Active Directory forest with a single domain named waylandindustries.com. They also have an Azure Active Directory tenant with the same name. After syncing all on-premises identities to Azure AD, you are informed that users with a given name attribute starting with lab should not be allowed to sync to Azure AD. Which of the following actions should you take? Our options are A. You should make use of the Synchronization Rules editor to create an attribute-based filtering rule. B. You should configure a DNAT rule on the firewall. C. You should configure a network traffic filtering rule on the firewall. Or D. You should make use of Active Directory users and computers to create an attribute-based filtering rule. The correct option is A. You should make use of the synchronization rules editor to create an attribute-based filtering rule. Question 17. Your company recently created an Azure subscription. You have subsequently been tasked with making sure that you are able to secure Azure AD roles by making use of Azure AD Privileged Identity Management. Which of the following actions should you take first? Our options are A. You should sign up Azure AD Privileged Identity Management for Azure AD roles. B. You should consent to Azure Active Directory Privileged Identity Management. C. You should discover privileged roles. Or D. You should discover resources. The most appropriate option among all these is B. Question 18. You have been tasked with applying conditional access policies for your company's current Azure Active Directory. The process involves assessing the risk events and risk levels. Which of the following is the risk level that should be configured for sign-ins that originate from IP addresses with dubious activities? Our options are A. None, B. Low, C. Medium, or D. High. The correct option is C. Medium. Question 19. You are implementing Microsoft Defender for SQL vulnerability assessments, in which two locations can users view the results. Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Select all answers that apply. Our options are A. An Azure Blob Storage account, B. An Azure Event Grid instance, C. Microsoft Defender for Cloud, or D. Microsoft Teams. The correct options are A and C, that is an Azure Blob Storage account, and Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Defender for Cloud is the default and mandatory location to view the results, while a Blob Storage account is a mandatory destination and a prerequisite for enabling the scan. The Teams option is unavailable out of the box. A scan completion event is not sent to Event Grid. Question 20. You have an Azure subscription and the following SQL deployments: an Azure SQL database named DB1, an Azure SQL Server named SQL Server 1, an instance of SQL Server on Azure virtual machines named VM1 that has Microsoft SQL Server 2022 installed, an on-premises server named Server1 that has SQL Server 2019 installed. Which deployments can be protected by using Microsoft Defender for Cloud? Select only one answer. Our options are A. DB1 and SQL Server 1 only, B. DB1, SQL Server 1 and VM1 only, C. DB1, SQL Server 1, VM1 and Server 1 only, D. SQL Server 1 only, or E. SQL Server 1 and VM1 only. The most appropriate options among these is C. Defender for Cloud includes Microsoft Defender for SQL. Defender for SQL can protect Azure SQL databases, Azure SQL Server, SQL Server on Azure virtual machines, and SQL servers installed on on-premises servers. Question 21. You configure a Linux virtual machine to send syslog data to Microsoft Sentinel. You notice that events for the virtual machine are duplicated in Microsoft Sentinel. You need to ensure that the events are not duplicated. Which two actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Select all answers that apply. Our options are A. Disable the synchronization of the log analytics agent with the syslog configuration in Microsoft Sentinel. B. Disable the syslog daemon from listening to network messages. C. Enable the syslog daemon to listen to network messages. D. Remove the entry used to send CEF messages from the syslog configuration file for the virtual machines. Or E. Stop the syslog daemon on the virtual machine. The correct options among these are A and D. You must disable CEF messages on the virtual machine and prevent the setting to send CEF messages from being read. Stopping the syslog daemon on the virtual machine will stop the virtual machine from sending both syslog and CEF messages. enabling the syslog daemon to listen and disabling the syslog daemon from listening to network messages does not handle the duplication of events. Question 22. Your company has an Azure Container Registry. You have been tasked with assigning a user a role that allows for the uploading of images to the Azure Container Registry. The role assigned should not require more privileges than necessary. Which of the following is the role you should assign? Our options are A. Owner, B. Contributor, C. ACR push, D. ACR pull. The correct option is C. ACR push. Question 23. You have been tasked with delegate administrative access to your company's Azure Key Vault. You have to make sure that a specific user is able to add and delete certificates in the Key Vault. You also have to make sure that access is assigned based on the principle of least privilege. Which of the following options should you use to achieve your goal? Our options are A. A Key Vault access policy, B. Azure policy, C. Azure AD privileged identity management, or D. Azure DevOps. The correct option is A. A Key Vault access policy. These operations are done on the Key Vault's data plane. The suitable built-in role would be a Key Vault certificates officer, able to perform any action on the certificates of a Key Vault except manage permissions. Question 24. You have been tasked with delegate administrative access to your company's Azure Key Vault. You have to make sure that a specific user can set advanced access policies for the Key Vault. You also have to make sure that access is assigned based on the principle of least privilege. Which of the following options should you use to achieve your goal? Our options are A. Azure Information Protection, B. RBAC, C. Azure AD Privileged Identity Management, or D. Azure DevOps. The correct option is B. RBAC. Authorization in Key Vault uses a combination of Azure role-based access control and Azure Key Vault access policies. Question 25. You have an Azure virtual machine that runs Windows Server R2. You plan to deploy and configure an Azure Key Vault and enable Azure Disk Encryption for the virtual machine. Which of the following is true with regards to Azure Disk Encryption for a Windows virtual machine? Our options are A. It is supported for basic tier virtual machines, B. It is supported for standard tier virtual machines, C. It is supported for virtual machines configured with software-based RAID systems, or D. It is supported for virtual machines configured with storage spaces direct. The correct option is B. It is supported for standard tier virtual machines. Windows virtual machines are available in a range of sizes. Azure Disk Encryption is supported on Generation 1 and Generation 2 virtual machines. Azure Disk Encryption is also available for virtual machines with premium storage. Azure Disk Encryption is not available on basic A-series virtual machines or on virtual machines with a less than 2 GB of memory. For more exceptions, see Azure Disk Encryption unsupported scenarios. Question 26. You have been tasked with enabling advanced threat protection for an Azure SQL database server. Advanced threat protection must be configured to identify all types of threat detection. Which of the following will happen if when a faulty SQL statement is generated in the database by an application? Our options are A. A potential SQL injection alert is triggered, B. A vulnerability to SQL injection alert is triggered, C. An access from a potentially harmful application alert is triggered, or D. A brute force SQL credentials alert is triggered. The correct option among all these is B. Question 27. You have been tasked with making sure that you are able to modify the operating system security configurations via Azure Security Center. To achieve your goal, you need to have the correct pricing tier for Azure Security Center in place. Which of the following is the pricing tier required? Our options are A. Advanced, B. Premium, C. Standard, or D. Free. The correct option is C. Standard. The standard tier extends the capabilities of the free tier to workloads running in private and other public clouds, providing unified security management and threat protection across your hybrid cloud workloads. The standard tier also adds threat protection capabilities, which use built-in behavioral analytics and machine learning to identify attacks, KS, and zero-day exploits, access and application controls to reduce exposure to network attacks and malware, and more. In addition, standard tier adds vulnerability scanning to your virtual machines. Question 28. Your company's Azure subscription includes 100 virtual machines that have Azure Diagnostics enabled. You have been tasked with analyzing the security events of a Windows Server 2016 virtual machine. You have already accessed Azure Monitor. Which of the following options should you use? Our options are A. Application log, B. Metrics, C. Activity log, or D. Logs. The correct option is D. Logs. Log integration collects Azure Diagnostics from your Windows virtual machines, Azure Activity Logs, Azure Security Center Alerts, and Azure Resource Provider Logs. This integration provides a unified dashboard for all your assets, whether they are on-premises or in the cloud, so that you can aggregate, correlate, analyze, and alert for security events. Question 29. Your company's Azure subscription includes 100 virtual machines that have Azure Diagnostics enabled. You have been tasked with retrieving the identity of the user that removed a virtual machine 15 days ago. You have already accessed Azure Monitor. Which of the following options should you use? Our options are A. Application log, B. Metrics, C. Activity log, or D. Logs. The correct option is C. Activity log. Azure Activity Logs provide insight into the operation that were performed on resources in your subscription. Activity logs were previously known as audit logs or operational logs because they report control plane events for your subscriptions. Question 30. You have an Azure virtual machine that runs Ubuntu 16.04-daily-LTS. You plan to deploy and configure an Azure Key Vault and enable Azure Disk Encryption for the virtual machine. Which of the following is true with regards to Azure Disk Encryption for a Linux virtual machine? Our options are A. It is not supported for basic tier virtual machines. B. It is not supported for standard tier virtual machines. C. OS drive encryption for Linux virtual machine scale sets is supported. Or D. Custom image encryption is supported. The correct option is A. It is not supported for basic tier virtual machines. Azure Disk Encryption does not work for the following Linux scenarios, features, and technology. Encrypting basic tier virtual machine or virtual machines created through the classic virtual machine creation method. Question 31. Your company uses Azure DevOps with branch policies configured. Which of the following is true with regards to branch policies? Choose all that apply. Our options are A. It enforces your team's change management standards. B. It controls who can read and update the code in branch. C. It enforces your team's code quality. Or D. It places a branch into a read-only state. The correct options among these are A and C, that is, it enforces your team's change management standards and it enforces your team's code quality. Branch policies help teams protect their important branches of development. Policies enforce your team's code quality and change management standards. Question 32. You want to gather logs from a large number of Windows Server 2016 computers using Azure Log Analytics. You are configuring an Azure Resource Manager template to deploy the Microsoft Monitoring Agent to all the servers automatically. Which of the following should be included in the template? Choose all that apply. Our options are A. Workspace ID, B. Azure AD Application ID, C. Workspace Key, or D. Storage Account Key. The correct options are A and C, that is Workspace ID and Workspace Key. Question 33. You need to consider the underlying segment to establish whether it is accurate. Your Azure Active Directory tenant has an Azure subscription linked to it. Your developer has created a mobile application that obtains Azure AD access tokens using the OAuth 2 implicit grant type. The mobile application must be registered in Azure AD. You require a redirect URL from the developer for registration process. Select No Adjustment Required if the underlying segment is accurate. If the underlying segment is inaccurate, select the accurate option. Our options are A. No adjustment required, B. A secret, C. A login hint, or D. A client ID. The correct option among all these is D. A client ID. Question 34. Your network contains an on-premises Active Directory domain named corp.contours.com. You have an Azure subscription named sub1 that is associated to an Azure Active Directory tenant named contoso.com. You sync all on-premises identities to Azure AD. You need to prevent users who have a given name attribute that starts with test from being synced to Azure AD. The solution must minimize administrative effort. What should you use? Our options are A. Synchronization Rules Editor, B. Web Service Configuration Tool, C. The Azure AD Connect Wizard, or D. Active Directory Users and Computers. The correct option is A. Synchronization Rules Editor. Use the Synchronization Rules Editor and write attribute-based filtering rule. Question 35. Your network contains an Active Directory forest named contoso.com. The forest contains a single domain. You have an Azure subscription named sub1 that is associated to an Azure Active Directory tenant named contoso.com. You plan to deploy Azure AD Connect and to integrate Active Directory and the Azure AD tenant. You need to recommend an integration solution that meets the following requirements. Ensures that password policies and user logon restrictions apply to user accounts that are synced to the tenant. Minimizes the number of servers required for the solution. Which authentication method should you include in the recommendation? Our options are A. Federated identity with Active Directory Federation services, B. Password hash synchronization with seamless single sign-on, C. Pass-through authentication with seamless single sign-on. The correct option in this question is C. Pass-through authentication with seamless single sign-on. Question 36. Your company plans to create separate subscriptions for each department. Each subscription will be associated to the same Azure Active Directory tenant. You need to configure each subscription to have the same role assignments. What should you use? Our options are A. Azure Security Center, B. Azure Policy, C. Azure AD Privileged Identity Management, or D. Azure Blueprints. The correct option is D. Azure Blueprints. Just as a blueprint allows an engineer or an architect to sketch a project's design parameters, Azure Blueprints enables cloud architects and central information technology groups to define a repeatable set of Azure resources that implements and adheres to an organization's standards, patterns, and requirements. Blueprints are a declarative way to orchestrate the deployment of various resource templates and other artifacts such as role assignments, policy assignments, Azure Resource Manager templates, and resource groups. Question 37. You have custom alert rules in Microsoft Sentinel. The rules exceed the query length limitations. You need to resolve this issue. Which function should you use for the rule? Select only one answer. Our options are A. ADX functions, B. Azure functions with a timer trigger, C. Stored procedures, or D. User-defined functions. The correct option is D. User-defined functions. You can use user-defined functions to overcome the query length limitation. Timer trigger runs in a scheduled manner. Using ADX functions to create Azure Data Explorer queries inside the Log Analytics query window is unsupported. Stored procedures are unsupported by Azure Data Explorer. Question 38. You have a data connector for Microsoft Sentinel. You need to configure the connector to collect logs from conditional access in Microsoft Entra. Which log should you connect to Microsoft Sentinel? Select only one answer. Our options are A. Activity logs, B. Audit logs, C. Provisioning logs, or D. Sign-in logs. The correct option is D. Sign-in logs. Sign-in logs include information about sign-ins and how resources are used by your users. Audit logs include information about changes applied to your tenant, such as user and group management or updates applied to your tenant's resources. Activity logs include subscription level events, not tenant level activity. Provisioning logs include activities performed by the provisioning service, such as the creation of a group in ServiceNow or a user imported from Workday. Note, the questions from 39 to 40 are a part of a series of multiple questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some questions sets might have more than one correct answer, while others might not have a correct answer. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. Question 39. Your company has an Active Directory forest with a single domain named waylandindustries.com. They also have an Azure Active Directory tenant with the same name. You have been tasked with integrating Active Directory and the Azure AD tenant. You intend to deploy Azure AD Connect. Your strategy for the integration must make sure that password policies and user login limitations affect user accounts that are synced to the Azure AD tenant, and that the amount of necessary servers are reduced. Solution: you recommend the use of federation with Active Directory federation services. Does the solution meet the goal? The correct answer is B. No. A federated authentication system relies on an external, trusted system to authenticate users. Some companies want to reuse their existing federated system investment with their Azure AD hybrid identity solution. The maintenance and management of the federated system falls outside the control of Azure AD. It is up to the organization by using the federated system to make sure it is deployed securely and can handle the authentication load. Question 40. Your company has an Active Directory forest with a single domain named waylandindustries.com. They also have an Azure Active Directory tenant with the same name. You have been tasked with integrating Active Directory and the Azure AD tenant. You intend to deploy Azure AD Connect. Your strategy for the integration must make sure that password policies and user login limitations affect user accounts that are synced to the Azure AD tenant, and that the amount of necessary servers are reduced. Solution: you recommend the use of password authentication and seamless SSO with password hash synchronizations. Does the solution meet the goal? The correct answer is A. Yes. The main sign-in method is PTA. It fulfills the requirements, and PHSync is just for failover and for identity protection. It is also recommended to do. Azure AD Identity Protection requires password hash sync regardless of which sign-in method you choose to provide the users with leaked credentials report. Organizations can fail over to password hash sync if the primary sign-in method fails and it was configured before the failure event.